Hello everyone and welcome back to Analytical Amateurs, the show where a bunch of unprofessionals pretend to be professional. I'm Alcataber, I'm here with Galactic Blame and Triple M. Say hello, guys.
We're back, baby.
Hello.
And today we are discussing the movie Don't Look Up, a new release on Netflix at the end of December last year. Yeah.
More like, don't watch this because it's bad.
Damn.
Oh no. Alright. We're about to go into this.
But yeah, we're here to discuss this movie, which has been a sort of talk of a lot of controversy lately, so it should be fun. And, I mean, any other precursors? Should we just get into it? Get into the swing of things?
Let's just get into
like, in general, I think the best place to start is just, like, the movie itself. Before we get into, like, allegories and behind-the-scenes details, we should just get into, like, the film itself and just kind of break it down. As a film, it's okay. I don't really have any strong opinions on it. It's okay. I guess is the best way I could put it. But yeah, like I think that what really works is obviously the actors involved. Like there are some really stellar performances here. Randall Mindy, played by Leonardo DiCaprio. Kate Dibiasky, played by Jennifer Lawrence. They're both really strong leads in the film. Randall's really awkward, but has a sort of charm to him as he's sort of wrapped up in the bigger world of marketing, of politics and whatnot, and he's just a guy trying to do his job, unaware of all the complications.
Seeing Leonardo DiCaprio try and mimic my Midwestern relatives was an experience I did not expect to see, so that was interesting. But he did a good
job. Same goes with Kate. She was just like the relatable like youngster caught in the middle of all of this, having to go freaking the hell out about everything, which is reasonable, and then just being like she doesn't give a shit anymore after she just sees how hopeless it all is. So she brought a fun, nihilistic, but at the same time hopeful charm to all of it. Same goes with everybody else. Like for antagonist, the president, Janie Orlean, and her son, what was his name? James, I believe. Like they were both fun just with how incompetent they were. As characters trying to run the presidency and whatnot. Orlean was obviously all in it for polls and whatnot, and her son James like is just a complete moron trying to keep up with her. Same goes with everybody else. Like what was his name? Peter Urswell, who represents sort of like the big tech company of everything. Like his whole like him trying to act all charming and unironically dooming everyone with his like procedures. Same goes for
Zuckerberg of this film, if you will.
Sort of like big, like I said, like big tech, like influential guy. Other than that, the rest of the supporting cast did a good job too. Everyone just had like fun reactions to everything. Everyone's clearly had fun with the story. I mean, apparently most of it was improvised, like the acting wise. A lot of their lines were
you can really tell.
is in a good or bad way.
That sounds like a bad way.
Well, I just don't like the movie. I just don't like it.
Well, and discuss the acting then. Let's since we're already on acting, like when it comes to improvisation.
I don't know. A lot of acting to me is Annika, I didn't mean to cut you off. Do you want to go?
No, you can go. I'll go after.
My favorite kind of acting is subtlety. Mm-hmm. Acting that isn't worn on the sleeve. And I will admit that Leonardo DiCaprio gave a very convincing performance. It was not like him to be most Leonardo DiCaprio performances. He's not as weird and awkward as he is, but I don't know. Everyone else, it was just so one note. I felt like it gave me the vibe. I don't know if you've ever seen these types of social media posts where people will take a scene where a character is just yelling really loudly and really angry, and they'll be like, "Wow, how did they not get nominated for this?" One that I like to reference is Tobey Maguire in Brothers. There's a scene where he's just screaming and just shouting at the top of his lungs and smashing shit, and people were like, "This is like the best acting of all time." Like, no, he's just yelling. Anyone can yell. Like, I love Tobey Maguire, but he's just yelling.
He had a weird.
He's just screaming.
All right. Let me. I actually agree with your with two points that you made. First one, the minor one, was like, how people like say, "Oh, it's a great performance because it's loud and they're yelling." It's like the same thing with like how like the Academy always gives like the best sound mixing award to the loudest movie. Like, the fact that Dunkirk got everything over Baby Driver is fucking crazy to me, but, you know, that's, like, a whole other discussion. So stuff like that, like, whatever seems like the most, like, I guess, maximalist approach to everything is usually what people who don't know the, like, details of that profession end up going with, if that makes sense. So, like, because people don't know a lot about, like, the subtlety of sound design and, like, the work that goes into it and everything, people are going to be like, oh, this one was, like, really loud, so, like, that's the one I could hear, that's the one I could pay attention to, which doesn't always work, because really when you're watching a movie, in terms of, like, editing, cinematography, and everything, you actually shouldn't be noticing it, because it should be so seamless that it just, like, immerses you. So anything that makes you think, oh, wow, it has to be either really, really great technical work, or it has to be really terrible. I think acting is the same way, too. Because, and especially for acting, because people, you know, pay attention to that way more, whether because of celebrities and things like that. People, you know, aren't going in, it's like, wow, I really want to go watch the sound design of Dune. Unlike, you know, people like me who do that, which is fucking weird. But point is that, so I do agree that the best kind of acting is, like, the really subtle stuff. And, like, I'm going to say this, I'll just use it as a point of reference, and it's also somewhat of an Adam McKay project, is Succession. Does a really great job of subtle in basically everything, in writing, in production, in cinematography, and especially in acting. The actors are amazing, especially Jeremy Strong, Brian Cox, and everything. They're all great. And they do yell, but they yell very sparingly. They only yell when it's, like, really absolutely needed for the scene. Like, they're not constantly yelling all the time. It's only ever used sparingly, which makes the punch all that more noticeable. So basically what I'm saying is that I totally agree with you, Logan, about, like, how subtlety is, like, the best kind of acting. However, my point is that I actually think it works for this movie. And let me also say this, is that I think Jennifer Lawrence, like, I haven't seen her in stuff for a while. I think she took, like, a break from acting or something. Like, I don't know. And then this was, like, one of her first projects she came back to. But so, like, I guess with her work in, like, The Hunger Games and some other stuff, I don't mind. I think she's, like, fine as a person or whatever, but, like, her acting is a little bit too much for me sometimes. Like, it's a lot of, like, yelling, over the top stuff, but I actually think that really works here. I think she actually gave one of her best performances in this movie because her acting style fits so well here. Because the whole tone of this movie is, holy shit, it's the end of the world, everybody's freaking out, we're all going to fucking die. So that's this entire movie. And because of that, aspects of this movie that you would normally be like, wow, this is extremely off-putting and unenjoyable to watch, actually work here. Because it works to help the tone of the actual narrative progress. Let me explain. I'm gonna try and keep this short as possible. But, like, for example, the cinematography, it's very shaky, it's very chaotic, it's got, you know, a lot of crash zooms and things like that. It's very chaotic, and it's kind of hard to keep your eyes, like, where everything is going. Like, it's kind of hard to keep track of, and the cuts are really strange. The editing, like, does some weird choices, like, it cuts to weird things, like, it'll cut from someone's face to their, like, to their hands, like, what they're doing with their hands and things like that, which is something that you normally do not see. But normally in
holy crap. Sorry.
What?
I'm so sorry. I just sneezed so hard.
Oh, we didn't hear.
Oh, you didn't hear it? Well, that's even more embarrassing. Fuck.
Okay, but, okay, let me find my other point. Oh, yeah. So, like, the camera work, anyway. So, like, the way that it from the cuts to the cinematography to even the music, both, like, the score and, like, you know, the score especially, which is also Succession's Nicholas Britell, so, and he's always amazing and everything. Also did stuff like If Beale Street Could Talk. He's really, like, underrated composer that's gaining a lot of attention these days, and I'm really excited about that. But basically, like, I think everything, including the acting and how, like, insane it is sometimes, to even the writing and the dialogue actually totally works here. Because the reason why it works, even though it's not subtle, is because it's a satire. And a satire is meant to be like the most hyperbolic, insane thing ever. Like, I mean, name like a single like satire project that isn't extremely in your face. Like, that's the entire point of it. The entire point of it is to take a concept. I guess in this case, you know, it's an allegory for climate change or whatever. But in this case, a situation where the human race faces an end of the world situation, and it's everyone's reaction to it, except it's what would happen in real life, but turned up to the 1000th degree. Mm-hmm. That's why it works here, in my opinion. I can go later, but I will. But I mean, like, I'm not saying that it's like the greatest execution of satire, in my opinion. I do not think that that's the case. I think it's a fine movie. I don't think it's like amazing, but the direction that they were trying to go, I at least understand what they were doing, and I think it worked in a lot of ways, probably more than it probably should have, but I do agree that there is problems here. So
Okay.
I am off track. Sorry, I didn't know if we were having a specific structure, but I mean, can I talk about why I dislike the movie?
Like,
go ahead.
In terms of
lay into it.
The themes and whatnot, we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, and I guess we should probably talk about the whole like social media storm about it.
I'm ready. I'm so ready to tear into this shit.
Before we get to that, like, I already talked about like characters and whatnot. Like, Galactic Blame mentioned the editing, which, the editing was weird and a mixed bag.
Well, it was it had so many stylistic choices that have no impact. Like, if you're gonna be a stylistic movie, fucking commit to it.
Like,
you know?
Yeah, in terms of, like, the editing, like, was mainly comprised of, like, either, like, random cuts in conversations. Like, people are talking, they'll just cut to, like, different parts of their body or areas of the room. Or it was like just completely random footage inserted in the middle of like scenes and whatnot. I think that the second part worked at a very specific point in the movie, which I'll get to. But like it was a very mixed bag, like I said, hard to like sort of comprehend. And I think it was fun, like it was kind of charming in some areas, like when they're like discussing stuff with the president to show the chaotic nature, like was mentioned, like how crazy this whole situation is. But at other times, I'm like, you really don't have to be cutting around. Like, they'll have, like, one I noticed is that, near the end, when the political campaign, Just Look Up versus Don't Look Up takes off, Dr. Oglethorpe, he's, like, getting a call about what happened with the, launch mission, to deter the, the meteor. And then he turns to Kate to look at her because he's, like, upset about what happened. And that just randomly cuts to Randall, who's just at a computer. And then back to Kate and Oglethorpe. And I'm like, okay, like I don't know how to explain it. It was it wasn't even like a stylized like angle of Randall doing something important. It was just a cut and then a cut back in the middle of the pause, and it just felt like awkward. Like it felt like they were doing this whole sort of spruced up cut thing just for the sake of it, as opposed to make a point about like tension or whatnot. And that happened at a couple points in the movie, and it felt like,
always have to be the case in terms of jump cuts. Like sometimes they don't have to be there because there's like a fucking like philosophical reason behind it. I mean, like literally like one of the first examples of jump cuts ever used in filmmaking is in Breathless. Mm-hmm. And it was literally only there because the movie ended up being too long. Mm-hmm. And the guy had to literally go in and like physically cut out parts of it. And it actually made the thing stylistically stand out. And it actually started, like, the whole movement for, like, jump cuts and everything. I mean, I know that that's, like, you know, the start of it. But I'm just saying that it's, like, it doesn't always have to be like that.
True.
But, I mean, I do, like, want to know kind of what the editors were thinking in the editing bay.
Yeah,
like,
this is like an editing room I definitely like to be in.
I'm just very interested because I mean, like, editors get a lot more like control over what goes into the final product than a lot of people realize. Like people who think like, oh, this is like Quentin Tarantino's style. It's like, no, it's fucking Sally Make. I think that was her name.
Yes,
like,
Sally
main
Make.
editor.
That's
Sally
Tarantino's
Make.
editor, for those of you who don't know.
It's her style. It's not his style. It's just that she works with him all the time, and then it gets associated with him. It's her style. Editors have way more control. Source. my editing professor. So like, it's like, like the director doesn't get like all say all the time. Like that's another thing about this movie is like some of the criticisms of this movie is that like there's plenty of stuff to criticize here, both on a production and like narrative level. But if you're talking about things like production and stuff, like you can't like 100% blame Adam McKay. Like I'm just saying, because a lot of people, like, it's not just a director's job for like everything. Like, yeah, they kind of oversee a lot of this stuff, but like they're not digging their hands into everything. And an editor doesn't tell a cinematographer how to do their job, or else there'd be no cinematographer. Like, I'm saying that with certain stylistic choices, it's hard to tell what is Adam McKay and what's not in some ways. So like, I feel like putting the blame specifically on him on everything is a little unfair to him. But I mean, in terms of like things like the script and stuff, like that's probably fair. But I mean, you could say that about anything. Like how much
that's like the statement for like filmmaking in general.
Like yeah. So I mean, I'm just saying that like when you go into it, if you want to criticize it, like Adam McKay, yeah, I mean he's the director, so obviously if there's problems, yeah, like you can point the finger at him, but not at like everything. But yeah, I don't know. That's just like a thing that I see a lot of people do, and I'm like, okay, that's a little irrational, because most people who like go into it, I'm like, you don't really know how production works.
Other than that, like, I guess, like, because so another thing to talk about is just the pacing of the movie. Like, I guess I'm trying to think of it in my head. We have like obviously like they find out about the meteor, they go and try to report it to the news. They get looked down upon as like clowns, but then
they turn to the president, and then they try to go to the news.
Go to the president, then they go to the news.
Except they don't fucking they don't go to like CNN or anything. They don't go to like CNN or Fox. They go to some fucking sorry.
They say in the story that the Daily Rope's like the biggest news show, or at least one of them, right? I can't remember the exact line. Like I remember when they're on the road.
It's been a while since I've seen this movie, so I can't remember every single one.
I remember when Kate is talking with her boyfriend.
Yeah, because her boyfriend had connections, so that was like one of the things.
But yeah, so it was president. Then they go to the show. They get clowned on. Everyone thinks they're being hysterical. Then the president has some like drama, and so she needs to take on the mission for the sake of her polls. They do plan on actually taking out the meteor, but then Peter, with his like influence and his money and his plans, decides they'll actually stall it so that they can mine it for resources.
He's like, there's like a bunch of rare metals that are worth like trillions of dollars. Yeah. So
and then this starts a big divide. Like this becomes the center of the divide. You have people who are for the comet making jobs, other people who are against it because of the dangers. Then this is emphasized once the comet gets closer, and it becomes the whole campaign of just look up versus don't look up. Like you have the people who are saying the comet needs to go versus the president who's running a campaign that the comet is what they need. And this all obviously is engrossed in and then on Randall's side, he ends up like getting engrossed in all the fame and fortune, ends up having some trouble with his wife, completely unrelated. But I recognized his wife.
Yeah, that plot point was interesting.
Like, no, I mean, I'm saying this, my point right now is completely unrelated. That I recognized the actress for his wife. June.
Kate Blanchett?
Not
his wife.
Yeah.
Not his wife.
Because I was like, I've seen this lady somewhere before, and it turned out she was in the movie But I'm a Cheerleader all the way back in like the 90s when she was still a kid. She played Hillary, and I was like, oh, look at her all grown up now. But yeah, that's completely unrelated. I just recognized her, and I haven't seen her in anything since then. But yeah, anyways, back to my point. Randall ends up having some trouble. He ends up splitting up with his wife, but then they get back together. How wholesome. Point is that in the end of it all, like they lose their one means was the foreign plan to take out the comet, but it gets destroyed. So then they decide that it's all over, and instead of freaking out about it, it handles it pretty somber, because I really like the last act of this movie, like the last hour. This is when Yul gets introduced, and Yul, he's okay, but I wish he had been involved sooner. He just kind of shows up in the last hour.
They're like, guys, we got Timothy Chalamet. We're gonna let him in.
Yeah, he just kind of shows up. But whatever the case, they all decide to just have a last dinner together. And the final act just becomes a full-on catastrophe with how The meteor, they failed to stop the comet. So now everyone's freaking out. It becomes one of those, in the end, people show you what they really are kind of moments. In the case of Randall, him, June, Teddy, and them, they decide to just stay together. They have an opportunity to leave, but they actually turn it down, which I thought was pretty powerful. Like, what matters is really just their relationship rather than escaping. They're just happy that they tried, as opposed to the fact that the comet's going to kill them all. On the other ends, like Janie and Peter just straight up like ditch everybody after they screwed them all over. It becomes the whole like stereotype of the elites secretly have like a hidden bunker that they're gonna hide in when the world ends, and they just flee the planet. And the fact that Janie forgot James was the funniest shit to me. Like, she just forgot her. She didn't even remember his name. Like, I remember when Randall's like, "You and James have a good trip." She's like, "James? Oh shit." Oh, I feel so bad for that poor kid. But yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they ditch humanity. And then Orleans supporters are like still. We see like different effects. Like, some people are fleeing in terror. Other people are like in denial. Freaking like Drask, that old military guy.
He just starts shooting.
Yeah, he just starts shooting at the comet. That was the funniest part. But yeah, and that was and this, like I mentioned before, this was the one time all the quick cuts truly worked for the movie. Like, it was a quick reel of just everything we're leaving behind on Earth. Like, it just quick jump in from different animals, people, everyone's reactions to the comet, and I thought that was like the one time that the quick paced editing truly worked for the movie. Like, that was where it was truly impactful.
Oh yeah, I
no
think
pun intended, but yeah.
Like, with the inner splicing of, like, you know, footage of like animals and nature and stuff. I do think it worked the best there, and not in like the other stuff. It was used sparingly earlier, but when you talk about quick cuts, like, you gotta like there's a difference between like intersplicing random footage and then a quick cut, as in like going from close up to different close up, you know, like that would be. So I think, like, in terms of that, like, the regular quick cuts work in the beginning when they're like panicking about the whole thing, and then at the end the quick cuts work with like intersplicing the footage.
I will say this. I am not a fan of this movie. However, I did find the ending little, I guess you can call it a montage maybe. I found it quite entertaining because I just like disaster movies. And I thought it was presented in a very well done way. You know, even though I find most of these characters insufferable, the whole, you know, they're just gonna hang out and pretend like nothing's happening. I found that very emotional. So I thought it was well done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Randall did not die alone, as Peter predicted. That's very important to me. Boy Randall, he was with everyone he needed. So that's nice. And what I don't like is the end credit scenes. Like, I know they're supposed to be gags, but I did not like the first one being that, like 22,000 years later, Orlean, Peter, and a bunch of survivors are like on a new planet. And then like Orlean immediately gets eaten by like a Bronktoroct or whatever they called it. And I guess humanity's just screwed over on that new planet. Then the second one is that James survived the comet's destruction, and he's just kind of chilling in the ruins of Earth. And like, I get it, they're both jokes, but I think they took away from the emotional impact. Just to like have a, like, they're the basic stereotype jokes of the end of the world. Like, the rich people go off to hide in a bunker, and there's like some survivor who has no idea what the fuck they're doing. And I'm like, okay, well, we didn't need those, in my opinion. But yeah,
I think the whole final scene takes away from the emotional impact because
like the destruction of the Earth.
Well, I think that the movie could have nailed the emotional impact by just having it end with the final shot being Jennifer Lawrence, Kate. Because when I was watching it, I was like, oh, it's over. They died, and it's a cut to black. But no, then they have to do this fucking thing. They have to do this thing that I hate, and it's what I hate about this movie. They have to show the phone. And it's like, oh my god.
The diet plan thing?
Yeah, it's like, oh my god, look. Oh my god, guys, it's a statement. It's a statement about society. Like, you made the statement
Hold on.
By having the world end.
Wait, first of all, I don't see how the diet plan has to do with that. But
You're not getting what I'm saying. It's like, oh, look, the remnants of the Earth, and also a cell phone. And then you're right. And then they had this weird credit bumper. It's like, why?
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it.
This
movie is so tonally inconsistent. It cannot decide if it wants to be like a full committed satire or if it wants to be a serious drama that people need to take seriously. And that's a big problem I have with it, in my opinion. I know I'm probably coming off as the usual pessimist, but like I've been watching. How many days are we into the fucking year? I have watched one movie per day, and I'm going to try and do it for the rest of the year. Obviously, that's a big ask.
I've been trying to do that. I need to get on that.
I've liked most of what I saw, because I don't think I'm a pessimist, but this movie just rubbed me the wrong way.
Okay, and we'll get into the details of that soon. What I want to say is, like, the last line, Randall's last line, we really did have everything, didn't we? I liked that. I mean, it took me a second to get the impact, but I guess the whole impact is, you don't realize how good you had it till it's missed. It's that kind of logic. And I thought it really mattered for them. I don't know if Randall should be saying that because he didn't take anything for granted, unlike Orlean or Peter. So if anything, he's being too humble and being the one to say something like that. So yeah, I think it would have made more sense for someone like Orlean to say that. But anyways, it still works. Other than that, we already discussed the impact of the ending. On the characters, I want to know, Triple, I want to know you to go back into the characters, because you said you didn't like them. I loved them. I want to know where your angle is with the characters specifically.
I just found them all very one note. I mean, I think the only people who, like, had anything to say were Jennifer Lawrence and, sorry, give me a second.
Randall?
Yeah. So
okay,
I don't know
there.
how I managed to forget Leonardo DiCaprio's name for a second there.
He was almost unrecognizable in many ways.
I mean,
I was going to say, as a quick aside, the person who thought up that haircut for Jennifer Lawrence needs to be dragged into the street and shot.
It was an odd haircut.
It was distracting me. It was really.
On the note of her design, another thing to notice, her nose ring. I mean, do you know the story about her nose ring?
No.
Oh, I wanted to go back.
Funny story. This will be a real quick segment. But like her nose ring, it's not a real nose ring. She didn't get her nose pierced. Instead, she had a magnet on the inside of her nostril that was keeping the nose ring in place. And at one point, she accidentally inhaled it and had to spit it out in front of Leonardo DiCaprio. And she like, so yeah, there's a fun story to take home from your day on set for Don't Look Up. You nearly choked on a magnet in your nose.
What the hell?
Like, I don't even think that's worth it. Like, of all the aesthetics for a character, why you don't really need I would not want a magnet in my nostril just to have a ring. I'd be like,
character design isn't as important in live action as in like animation. Okay, well, let me go back to the characters real quick, because I do agree that pretty much all the characters are one note. Like the news people, the president, the president's assistant, like everybody is basically exactly what you expect them to be. Yeah, it's like, oh, it's a crony politician. The crony politician is a crony politician. It's like, oh, the stereotypical like racist like general. It's like, he's a stereotypical racist general. Except obviously,
well, he's just from a different generation.
Yeah, except for obviously the two main characters. And I think that's by design, because again, and I know it's like you can't argue the semantics of the fact of whether this is actually a good satire or not, because it is true that there is a way to do a good satire and a bad satire. Just because they are trying to do a satire doesn't make it automatically good. But I feel like that is by design, because again, a lot of satires kind of go off of the prospect of like, let's take a stereotype and let's, amplify it to the 1000th degree. I mean, something like, take almost like any character from like, I mean, think about like Jonathan Swift, like when he first like published like A Modest Proposal, where it's like, oh, the narrator is like, guys, I know how to fix the overpopulation problem. We just feed everyone babies. We just eat the babies, and it's like we just eat the fucking babies, and we take them of all social classes, which is probably the most egalitarian thing you'll ever hear. So it's like, so it's fair for everybody, and it's like there's no depth to that. Like, I mean, in terms of like character and things like that, and sometimes you'll get a subversion of that, like something like Jojo Rabbit, like the characters do have depth, like even the side characters do, because that is also like a drama, like a more like a coming of age story. Because of the fact that it's a coming of age story, it has to have themes like that. This isn't a coming of age story, so it doesn't need to have themes like that. And so it just like, because again, everything's supposed to be hyperbolic here. Like everything is supposed to be, it's supposed to make a point by, I mean, like literally take any fucking South Park episode. Every character is ridiculous. You wouldn't say characters in South Park have depth. Not really. Maybe a few of the main characters, like every once in a while, but pretty much every character is just like a blanket to make a statement about some socio-political issue of the day. And it's like, that's kind of like what it is here, in my opinion. And I feel like the reason why they made the main characters not flat is because I feel like something like that isn't as palatable to the like standard audience now, because we just don't, I mean, and that's not like a bad thing, it's just we don't see satire as much anymore. Like it's just not in the mainstream. Like
it's like they say, satire is dead, and we killed it.
It really is. So it's like, it's people just aren't used to it. So the only way to do like a satire properly, whether it works or not, is you have to intercut it with other tonal things. Like something like Young Frankenstein is just, it's just satire. Like there's no other, I mean, yeah, it's comedy, but most satire is pretty much comedy. So it's like, you can't really say that it's like anything other than satire. And that's not a bad thing, because it works for what it's trying to do. Something like Baseballs is very clearly just a parody satire. Like, you know, any Mel Brooks thing is just the thing that it is. But because that isn't as marketable anymore and people aren't used to it as they were 30, 40 years ago, that they have to intercut it with certain other things. Again, to differing degrees. I think Jojo Rabbit is a really great example of satire, because I think it blends that with the coming of age, with the comedy, and with the drama in a really healthy and good way. Like, it doesn't lean towards one thing too much. It doesn't degrade the audience. It doesn't try to lecture them. Like, it makes its point, and it makes it done right. And I think here what they tried to do was they tried to also, not obviously it's not a coming of age story, but they had to mix it with other genres. And I do think that they kind of struggled to find that other genre to mix with it, like with the drama and the comedy angle. But I mean, like, I can at least understand what they were going for. It worked sometimes, but it didn't work all the time. So, I mean, like, satire is just, it's a literary device. It's a way to convey something that you're trying to say. Like, that's just what it is. And I think that's what this was trying to do. So the fact that it's so in your face, and it's like trying to be like, oh my god, look at this thing, it's something, says something about society. Yeah, every fucking satire is say something about society. That's how satire is. That's the essential purpose of satire. It is a tool to convey that, except to make it more entertaining. Again, you can argue whether or not this is a successful satire or not, but the fact that you go like, oh my god, it's like, you know, it's too over the top as a satire isn't a valid argument, because that's what satire is supposed to be. So it's, yeah, that's my other rant, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, with that in mind, I mean, we might as well dive into the nitty-gritty, the details, what this movie's truly about. For those of you who don't know, Adam McKay designed this movie to be commentary on something that is partaken the world by storm. That is, of course, ligma. It is a commentary on the disease ligma. Very painful. It is very sad that Leonardo DiCaprio got ligma. So bad.
Hugo, this isn't 2018. Like,
I know.
you're a whole ass decade behind.
I just got whiplash thrown back into goddamn sophomore year.
Oh yeah,
right. God, Hugo.
Fortnite and shit. Good God.
Was Fortnite sophomore year or was that senior year? I think it was sophomore.
Dude, sophomore, senior. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Dude, I wish it was senior year. I wouldn't be this.
But yeah, anyways, for real. It's about climate change. Climate. The air, the weather, the ice caps. You know, the jizz. I do not understand everything about climate change because I'm a dummy. I am learning now, thanks to this movie. I actually encourage you to do more research. Point is that, and also, before anyone gets mistaken, many have theorized this movie is actually about COVID-19. No, actually, it just incidentally came out during COVID. It was actually written before any of that started. It was written in response to climate change, but now with COVID being a thing, it unfortunately and scarily lines up pretty well with a lot of the same issues.
I mean, I think the whole argument of oh, we need to save the planet versus it's good for jobs is very clearly a climate change thing.
Yeah,
because
that's pretty on the nose.
Yeah, when you're talking about people losing their jobs because of fossil fuel versus we gotta stop using fossil fuel. It's very clearly that it's not I mean, yeah, you could say it's about maybe some other whatever hot button issue, but I mean, let's be real. That's
the most obvious. Fun fact, another fun fact: the Bash hotline for the asteroid stress and the whole jobs issue in the movie. Don't search up that number. It's I don't even know if I should spoil what it is. You know what? Yeah, search it up if you want. I'm not even gonna say what it is because I think it'll be funnier.
Put it up on screen.
If it'll be funnier if you guys find it.
Put the number up on screen.
Yeah, I will put that on screen if I can find it. But yeah. Either way.
When do I get to do my little dance, my little rant?
If we want to get into the details of it, we've already discussed that it's about COVID, or not about COVID, about climate. There's a lot of allegories that I'll just get out of the way. A lot of obvious allegories, not just about climate, but about society, as cheesy as that sounds. Obviously, we already went over the whole issue, the comment, the for and the against of the comment, the hashtag don't look up versus hashtag just look up. The president's whole stand-in, the hats, obviously clear signs to stuff like presidential elections, politics. The don't look up hat was a clear sign to what was it called? How did I forget this? Fucking MAGA. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that was MAGA.
I don't know why that slipped my mind. But yeah, the challenges on social media. There was stuff like the hashtag launch challenge where people were burning their faces with rockets, which we chuckle at why would anybody do this? But then you spend half a day on TikTok.
Yeah, I've actually seen way worse challenges.
Yeah, there's crazy stuff.
Yeah. It's really not that out of the realm of possibility.
Honestly, I was this is tame compared to what kids
are
doing afterwards.
It's kind of sad that satire that's again clearly supposed to be satire. It's really not that far off. It's with South Park now. They're well, shit. What do we do now?
Yeah. Everything's so crazy.
It's a fucking parody. So what the hell are we supposed to do?
Society's already taken all the good ideas. But other than that, my favorite little bits, I only caught this on my second. I caught both these on my second rewatch. Was when freaking Peter is given a demonstration about why he canceled the rocket launch. Because they need the meteor, and then he calls up his secretary lady to explain everything, and then just awkwardly sniffs her hair behind her. And I burst out laughing. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" But yeah, and another one was what's his name, James, when they're giving the rally for Don't Look Up, and he just keeps hitting on his mom, if she wasn't my mom, I don't know, guys, and I was like. Okay, I know. I was like, I know what you're doing here.
We know that reference.
I was like, for both of those, thumbs up to me. Those were funny. Those were good. But other than that,
Oh yeah, wait. Another reason why the over the top thing about the government and the president all being incompetent and selfish and terrible is actually, again, it seems the government, they would never act like that. I mean, they would. Again, 3/4 of my parents work for the government, so.
And I think Kate's line sums it up perfect. Like, the sad truth is they're not smart enough to be as evil as you think they are.
Yeah, totally. That is 100%. I said that. I was like, yeah, that is exactly what it is. Like, people think that there's way too many conspiracies going on, and I'm like, guys, it's really. Trust me, it's kind of a miracle that the government works as well as it does. It doesn't even work that well, but the fact that it works even at all is kind of miraculous.
Honestly. Other than that, like, they also had, like, commentary on big tech, like, as tech is evolving to a point that everyone's already, like, joked about robots basically taking over the world in the future, but as tech evolves, you can already see signs of that. Like, the Bash phone, like, the whole point was that, like, it can read people's emotions. They can predict how you die, which is funny, but, like, we're not that far off in real life. Like, it can literally predict
the metaverse to tell me when that's gonna happen.
Like, the fact that the phone can predict that someone's going to die, like, 22,000 years in the future on an alien planet, like, is the most surrealist shit, and, like, is one of the little bits of satire that I actually appreciated the most in the movie. But, like, obviously, like, Peter Urschwell and his whole, like, company, like we talked about, is a stand-in for, like, the evolution of big technology and its effects on the world, like, to the point that Peter basically has say over the president just because of how much money he donates,
which is very accurate.
Yeah. And like, his whole plans for, like, I don't know how to take Peter, like, obviously the reason he wants to stop the communists because he talks about how it will bring new jobs and the world's issues and everything. And, like, on one hand, Kate says, like, his whole plan is just to make the rich get richer. But on another hand, like, Randall actually is trying to temporarily seize the good in the plan. So, like, was Peter just full of shit, or, like, did he actually mean some of what he was thinking? Like, was he just a innovator over his head, or is he just a greedy business person? Like, what do y'all think?
I think that's more left up to interpretation. He's one of the more flat characters in the movie, so I think that's, like, whatever you put, whatever you see that as is like, oh, are they, like, very evil businessmen, or are they just fucking greedy assholes that have a lot of money and can do things that other people can't do, even if they don't really know what they're doing?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, I don't know. I mean,
the littlest bit of like, commentary I liked the most was, because they breathed this up very briefly near the end of the movie, how Hollywood's making a movie called Total Devastation, with stars Devin Peters, who is supposed to, like, come out on the day the comet released, or the comet hit the Earth. And, like, during all the crisis of the campaign, it just cuts to, like, Devin, like, doing an interview for his movie. And he's talking about how, like, he wanted to, like, just make a movie. Like, he's like, it's not about sides. We just want to make a popcorn flick to, like, be clear for everyone. And, like, that one stuck out to me because it's, like, sort of, like, commentary on, like, the whole escapist idea of media. Like, people want to escape the issues of the world by just going to a good old popcorn blockbuster and everything. And I don't know where they were going with that, because they don't bring it up again. I think it would have been interesting to see more of that. But, like, it's just kind of fun, like, commentary on, like, how when you have a situation this dire, like the planet literally about to explode, like, instead of actually focusing on whether or not they should do something about it, they're just like, let's just have a fun popcorn movie and just ignore the literal hellscape outside.
I mean, a lot of people, like, they would rather stick their heads in the ground and not really think about all the problems in the world. I mean, like, not even just the ones that are going on in your front yard, but, like, everywhere else or whatever. It's like, oh, like, let's ignore the fact that this politician, like, blew up kids in the Middle East because I like him better than this other politician that also blew up kids in the Middle East. I mean, really, they're all the same. But, it happens. But yeah, okay. One thing I will give this movie is I'm very, very glad that they gave us a song with Ariana Grande and Kid Cudi, produced by Nicholas Britell. I will think.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Cudi. I thought the song was okay. I like seeing him get work.
Nice.
I just love Cudi. He's
I lost my shit when I realized he was Ariana Grande's boyfriend, and I was like, shut up.
Yeah, that song was charming. I know, and she improvised like the lyrics too. Ariana, all that stuff about like get your head out of your ass. That was
from her. Yeah.
When do I get to yell?
You know what? Fine. Let's get into this. Let's get into the drama.
All right, I'm sitting up. Here we go. I have been.
Turn down your mic. Get your.
It's turned down. We're good. I'm gonna.
All right, everybody, turn down your headphones, your speakers, whatever.
I don't.
Popcorn. He's about to get on his.
It's my turn.
I'm
kidding. I'm kidding. It'll be fine. I'm not actually gonna get that pissed off. I'm just gonna say, I don't like this movie. I don't like it. Every single scene managed to find some way to make me roll my fucking eyes. It is corny. It's self-important. It smells its own farts. It's out of touch. It's too long. It has horrible editing. Like, oh, brother, this guy stinks. Like, okay.
Okay, I hear your thesis. Give me your citations to back it up.
What?
I'm
like the points.
I was going to. I'm getting to.
Okay, good. Great.
Let me just give me a second. The whole thing, the whole movie feels like. Just let me. I'm gonna get there. The whole movie feels like it was made to be like one of those political comics that you'll go online and you'll see like a 50, 60-year-old white woman sharing. And then a bunch of 50, 60-year-old white people in the comments be like, yeah, that really is how it is, isn't it? These kids and their phones, you know. It like the whole movie could have been summed up in a tweet or a Facebook post. It is so self-indulgent. It wants to make so many statements about so many different things like celebrity culture and corrupt politicians. Side note, if you're going to have your president of the United States be an incompetent moron, maybe don't make it a female president. That's really counterintuitive.
Are you talking about the tokenization? The idea
No,
that
I'm just saying, I think... I'm saying that it's counterintuitive to a message that's been pushed by I'm not going to name names and name sides, but it's counterintuitive to a message that has been pushed by a certain political party for years, is that women aren't fit to be politicians because they, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just saying that it's like, it feels like a really weird decision to have, you know, this idiot president allegory be a woman, because we've never had a woman president.
On that one specific point, can I
sure.
use my woman card right here? I'll keep it quick. Okay.
Go ahead.
The main, like, you know, mudslinging argument that, you know, is genuinely, like, fucking terrible is, like, women can't run anything because they're too emotional, which is, like,
which is bullshit.
Shut the fuck up. Yeah. So, yeah. So that's, like, the main argument. That isn't a thing here. She's not even, like, calculating because she's kind of a fucking moron. But, like, I'm just saying that it's, like, I don't mind having a female character, including a female president, be a bad person because women can be bad people, too. Yeah, I'm just saying that if a woman gets in office, they can be just as bad as a man in office. I'm just saying. Like, I'm saying... These hands are rated E for everyone. Everyone fucking sucks, okay?
Yeah, we promote gender equality and incompetence.
The fact that it has to be like, oh, like, we got to make sure that we're not going to, like, you know, we got to make sure that it's, like, I don't think that they specifically went into it saying that, oh, we got to have her as a female president. It's like, that's why she's got to be incompetent. That is not at all.
No, I agree. What I'm saying, though, is in this movie, everything, every allegory, surface level or not, has a clear-cut purpose. And, like, it is so easy to watch this movie and go, okay, well, the comet is climate change, and the news people are like Fox News or, you know, the daily news shows, MTV and all that shit. But who are you outsing here? Like with the president? Who are you pointing the finger at?
Well, to be fair,
I think she's just
Is it
stand-in
all
for
politicians?
To be fair,
Like,
I was gonna say like that Orly
like,
kind
I
of
don't
stands
care-
in for like
like-
politics.
like I know we talk about like people get. I'm not gonna get polarized about this,
Well,
but
we
like
might
you know,
as well.
there's the endless debate about like, oh, which side. I mean, but really, they kind of do the same fucking thing. They always blow up kids in the Middle East. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like the logic is
like
that it
every
represents.
single president does
like,
that. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. They all do that. They all do the same thing. They all get crony in office. They're all bad. Like, so I just feel
the
like
logic
again,
kind of represents like
again, she's
politics
just
as
a
a whole.
stand-in for that. I don't think the allegory there has to be that.
Hell, if anything,
Just the fact, okay, like
before
I
you
don't
go
want
to
to.
the loan.
I feel like you shouldn't like read into it just because she's a woman. Oh, there's an allegory there. Like, would you say that if it was like a white dude?
I will say
yes, because for the last Christ, what's it been like 5 years now in media? There was a clear cut, like we had a scapegoat. I'm not taking sides here, although anyone who knows me knows what side
We kind
I
of
are.
clearly know what the scapegoat is.
Well, that's what. Just let me talk. Okay, I'm not taking sides here, though. Anyone who knows me knows
That's
what
fine.
side I'm on. All I'm saying is, for about 5 years now, there was a scapegoat, and it was extremely obvious if you had like Kingsman 2. If you've seen Kingsman 2 with the jackass president.
Oh, let me send you a meme about that. Let me send you a meme about that. I saw that was funny the other day. But yeah,
okay.
I forgot about
everyone
that.
in the world,
the president. I can't.
Everyone in the world watching Kingsman 2 understood. Oh, they're talking about you know who. And I forgot where I was going with this point. Damn it! No, here my whole point.
President Meryl Streep. I don't know.
No, listen, look, the Meryl Streep thing. Bringing that up was just a minor thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I gotta get back to the real talk. What I really want to talk about is how this for satire to really work, you have to really prove that you understand the human condition. And I don't think this movie does a good job of that. Because everyone in this movie is like a caricature. It's so painful. Ariana Grande's character was the one that really stood out to me. Cause
she was kind of herself, not gonna lie.
No one
I don't know Ariana Grande, so I can't comment on that. But yeah.
It's like
the whole donut thing.
It's like watching a sketch comedy show, and this is the biggest problem I had with all these characters is other than Leo and Jennifer, all of these characters are extremely one note and only serve to push to reinforce the allegory that they're playing. And I think that a big thing about this movie is its budget was a problem, I think. And this is one of the only times I'll say a movie had too big of a budget, because I really think they could have gotten the message across without the extravaganza of showing the comet and showing everything in such like gratuitous detail. Like I said, I think the most powerful way to end this movie would have been, so let's see, we're in the rumbling, right? They're eating dinner and it's rumbling, and you could still have the intercut where people are reacting and stuff, but I think the most powerful way to end it was like they're talking and it starts rumbling, and they keep talking and it keeps rumbling, and then it just cuts to black, and that's
like
the credits.
Sopranos type deal.
Oh, don't even get me started on Sopranos, Annika. I finished it a month ago, and it's my current hyperfixation. I fucking love The Sopranos. But anyway, yes, let's say like The Sopranos. And then
it's the ambiguity of it.
It's the ambiguity. Well, it's not even ambiguous. Well, no, it's like, just like,
I mean, like what's in your head is usually worse than like what it actually is. Like it's you imagining it. It's more like impactful.
I think it would say something about how climate change has snuck up on us, and the end will sneak up on us. I think it could say, but no, they have to have this giant montage of like the comet hitting and the giant. It's like I'm watching 2012. It's like or Moonfall, that new piece of shit that's out in theaters. It's so gratuitous, and I think the budget is way too high, and so like so incredibly high, because how the fuck did they pay all these high-billed actors? Like, oh my god, Ron Perlman, Timothy Chalamet, Meryl Streep, Jason Hill, Jonah Hill, you know what I'm saying?
And
like,
a lot of them aren't even in it for that long either.
Yeah, it's...
You know what, maybe they should have kept that budget and not put it in towards, like, the CG and stuff for that, but actually given it to, like, all the production hands that aren't
I'm trying to pull up my review. It's painfully unsubtle, as I said. It's surface level allegories. It's the the cast is good. I wrote in my review the cast is great. Like the performances are okay, but like it's a good cast. I
mean, does that really matter though? If like the performances aren't great, but the cast is good.
I'm being I know what I'm so all over the place with this fucking film. Much like this film's tone.
Yeah, it's a little.
I find well that's another thing is it can't, like I said earlier, it can't commit to anything. It can't decide if it wants to be like a serious satire or if it wants to be really emotional.
Well, there's not a serious satire though. Like
I mean like a strict satire, like satire for satire's sake.
Like, I do agree, like, what you were saying with, like, it does have a tonal issue, which is always a big problem in a film. Like your tone is, like, probably, like, one of your most important things to, like, tell a proper story, because you gotta evoke the right reaction when you want something to land. Like, if you want a death to be impactful, like, if you make it a black comedy, it might be funny, but if you make it a total drama, it might make someone fucking cry. Like, you know, like, it has a different context, and, like, that's the most important part about it. But like I said before, with, like, the satire angle is that now, because satire isn't, like, you can't get away with just, like, singular satire unless, I guess, you're, like, fucking South Park or something. Like, you can't get away in a movie with, like...
Or, It's satire. Always Sunny.
Yeah, 100%. I think it works better in TV than it does in a film.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about a film, again, with Jojo Rabbit is a good example. Jojo Rabbit has multiple different types of like tones that are interconnected. Like, it doesn't have to have a single tone. Like, if anything, nothing should probably have a single tone. I actually think even satire shouldn't be like a single tone, because then it becomes predictable. And you see it a million times, and it's going to play out the exact same way every single time. Like, if you spice it up, like, if you add, like, a black comedy to, like, a drama thing, like, it makes it much more interesting. Like, I started watching this show, like, Will Sharp did it, called Flowers. And it's a drama, but it's, like, very much like a black comedy. But, like, at the same, like, you can't, it's, like, definitely more on the drama side of things. But, like, the fact that, like, it takes these elements and it makes you like somewhat uncomfortably laugh at them is what makes it unique. If it was just a drama, it would just be like a very like standard flat drama, and you wouldn't really be talking about it. Like, you would just be like, I mean, that was a drama, it was fine, I guess, but it wouldn't be like what it is. Like, it wouldn't have a good identity. Same with like Succession. If Succession didn't have the like snappy the snappy dialogue and everything, and just like characters saying things that they don't really mean, with the drama, if they only had the drama and they didn't have like all the layers that go on top of that, then it wouldn't fucking work. It wouldn't be interesting. It would just it would just be a very standard drama. It would have, oh, that was an interesting twist, but like it wouldn't be anything that stands out to people. So like you have to have that, and I do think that in some ways this movie kind of struggled finding its identity that would make it subversive. In a way.
I feel like it can't. It invites no conversation other than the one we're having now about whether or not it's a good film. It invites no conversation. It is an echo chamber. It is constantly shouting its message down this echo chamber, and everyone who takes it in will either walk away. Well, the intent is for everyone to walk away going, "That was so important." But nobody's going to go, why? Why was it important? Versus something like Sorry to Bother You. Sorry to Bother You is a great film full of allegories about a bunch of stuff.
I watched that movie really late at night. I do not remember half of it.
Well, Sorry to Bother You Sorry to Bother You is a surface level film where like there is a story. There's a story, and you can take in that story and miss all the allegories. But then, upon further examination, further discussion, you find what it's trying to be, what the movie is trying to say. And I really wouldn't have a big fucking problem with Don't Look Up if Adam McKay wasn't being such a weenie about it.
Oh, well, this is art from artists. This is a similar case to
just let me. I know it's art from artists. But I gotta call him out on this.
All right,
I gotta because
ahead.
This pissed me off. There are 2 tweets that I saw, one from Adam McKay and one from one of his fucking friends. And I really wish that I could have found it. He might have deleted it because I scrolled back at his Instagram. He tweeted that the reason he thinks it's getting such poor reviews is because a lot of people who are negatively reviewing it don't understand climate change and don't understand the movie. No, everyone gets it. Literally. This movie is impossible. Sorry. This movie is impossible not to get because, like I said, it's an echo chamber. It is constantly shouting its message in every scene. And I align with every belief in this movie. Like, every value, every anxiety. I, too, sit up at night. Well, not, I'm being dramatic here, but I think about climate change a lot, because how can you not? But the problem is, I could still acknowledge that this film is cringe. And to take that shield and just be like, if you don't like it, you don't get it. Like, fuck you, man. And then the other tweet I saw was like, this guy, and I remember this word for word because it pissed me off so much. This guy goes, everyone's saying that Don't Look Up was bad. What? Not enough superheroes in it for you? Not enough capes? Not enough superpowers? Not enough CGI? And I was like, why don't you go blow yourself? Like, oh my god. Like, how full of yourself. Ooh, look at me. I'm so cool because I hate superhero movies. Shut the fuck up, man. This movie is not the saving grace of cinema that it thinks it is. Well, it's just a...
You say all that, but here's the thing. Like, that I had to consider when it comes to life and whatnot and reviewing. Here's the thing. People are really fucking stupid, okay? Like, just in life. I have observed that in life. People can be really dumb.
No, I know that.
Yeah, when it comes to an issue, any issue in life, and, like, because, okay, us, people who like to analyze film, care about film, we can look at any film with a lot of subtext to it, analyze, I'm trying to think of a good example, but, like, we can look at any film with, like, a deep metaphorical lens to it and be like, oh, this is what the film is trying to say. These are how these elements of the story add to this theme, and it's all very powerful, right? While other people, like, if you look at something like Star Wars, like just the original Star Wars, we're like, oh, look at this film, how it's an allegory on the conflict of the Vietnam War and the type of, like, effects of war profiteering and all the conflict that comes from, like, family struggles and the drama of that. And then someone else is just like, I like when the laser sword hit the other laser sword, right? Like, some people are in this just because they want to analyze deep themes and learn about the world through the art of film, and other people just want to watch stuff that looks cool. And so, how do you get to those people who are, like, just in it for the fun of it? Because they're people too. They're necessary for our world. And you can try to be as, like, metaphorical and subtextual as you want. But if they don't get it, then they don't get it. And so, if anything, you can see a film like Don't Look Up, which has to be on the nose and blatant about what it's doing, which even then, it's still, like, it's about, as opposed to literally being about climate change, they made it about a comet, so it still has some subtext. But you can look at a film like that and see that it has no other choice but to do what it's doing, right?
Well, the problem is, and I'm seeing a lot of people, like, that is a good point. It is. It's a good point. Like, yes, sometimes things have to be on the nose, but the problem is this film is not being marketed towards the people that need to fucking watch it. It's the only people that are watching this fucking movie and talking about it is us.
So who is it being marketed to? Because, I mean, I just saw it as
it's an Oscar bait movie. The only people who watch the Oscars are people who already know that climate change is a fucking problem. Like, if they wanted to... sorry, give me a second, because I gotta figure out where to go so that I don't sound like a fucking idiot with this thought. The people that need to be talking about this film and need to be watching it are not. We are. We know climate change is a problem because we aren't stupid.
Oh, this
and
reminds
I think that's
me. This reminds me of something.
I disagree with that point.
This reminds me. Wait. This reminds me of something. So there was a film. There was a film in which a director, a writer, if you will, wanted to give a message to the world, something very important that they wanted to get across. But people, they don't care about average movies on the side. They don't care about the indie films, the art house films. And anyone, if they made this movie about any regular old person, no one would care. You know what people do care about? They care about superheroes. They care about supervillains. They care about jokes. Do you see where I'm going with this?
No.
Joker! I'm literally talking about Joker! Todd Phillips' Joker! Basically, remember when a while back when we talked about Joker, Todd Phillips' logic about Joker was that he wanted to make what he called a real movie. He wanted to make a movie talking about the effects of mental health, about societal decline and whatnot, but no one would care about that. So what did he do? He put it under the guise of something people did care about, the superhero medium, the character Joker, and he told his film through that. So hearing you bring up this point, like, yeah, most average Joes wouldn't care about a movie like Don't Look Up. We would. But if Don't Look Up was about fucking Iron Man, would people care? That, oddly enough, I watched, there was a Lego short that came out a while back for like the Avengers called like Climate Conundrum, where like the Avengers tackle villains who are like trying to affect the ecosystem and shit. So like, if they had done that, if they had made a movie about the Avengers fighting the climate crisis, then would it have mattered? I ask you, Triple M. Just a hypothetical.
Can I go back?
No.
And rebuttal.
Well,
I don't understand your point. Can I go back and rebuttal the one point about Triple M being like, yeah, like no one else is watching it other than us. Then how come this is from Netflix's official analytics, December 20th to December 26th, number one film, most streamed, 111 million hours. The week after, 152 million hours. And again, everything below that is like 21 million.
Yeah, I already knew this, by the way, but yeah.
Outperforming it. 58 million. The week after that, and that's the current analytics, is 58 million hours. So that it's not, the argument is not whether people are not watching it, because very clearly it's watching it. It's blowing up everywhere. Everyone will not shut the fuck up about it.
My guess is it's the actors that tends to bring people like Leonardo and Jennifer
probably
people in. Yeah,
probably, but the fact that like that no one is watching it is not the problem here. Like that's not the issue. Is that very clearly everybody's watching it. I mean, obviously people are going to get different ratings out of it because some people are like, "Oh, that was an interesting movie with actors that I know and like." Because that's what most people go into movies doing that. Like most people go into movies for like the actors. Like that's just like a fact. Like the one of the best ways to get like a short film or a film project off of the grounds is to get a big name actor to be in it.
No, that's why like, so many like basic animated films will just get some popular like rapper or pop star to be like 100%. A main character.
The celebrity thing is a very much a real thing that exists, and it's in every single. It's in voice acting. It's in, which is unfortunate because it kind of replaces like a lot of really good voice actors.
Honestly, yeah.
Sucks, but I mean, some of them are really actually great at voice acting, but like others are just, they're doing the bare minimum. Like you can tell that they don't really care. But like the fact of the matter is that the problem is not that people aren't watching it. It is like, I don't know, like what people's like reading is of it, because everyone's got a different reading. I'm not going to.
Yeah, maybe that would be the problem then. Just people's.
I'm not going to generalize the population. I just don't understand why everybody is so fucking mad at this movie.
Yeah,
like it's really not. It's okay, but it's really not like anything to like throw hands over. Like it just is what it is, and it's like there's plenty of stuff to criticize for, and we should do that because that's what we should do for every film. It doesn't matter if it has a message or if it's a fucking popcorn flick. Like like you should always do that, but like it's not as like impactful as people make it seem to be. I don't know. So even me trying to edit it knows that it's like not. It's not great. It's okay. It's fine. It does some stuff good, but it's not a great. It's not even the best satire or allegory that's come out in the past few years. Like, and that's not. And there's not a lot that have.
So Triple M. Then would the issue be, I guess, people's perception as opposed to people watching it, whether or not for you?
Suppose, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, like the perception, like what is the general perception for this film? Like would you say, like from everyone?
I've seen people calling it I've seen a lot of people talk about how genius it is and how topical it is and how everyone needs to talk about it.
I mean, it is topical. Like, I'll give it that. Like, it only works because it's topical. It's certainly not genius. And the fact that this is, like, the go-to satire for people kind of fucking sucks. But, I mean, it makes sense. Because satire, again, it relies on the point of, like, a, like, topical...
Depends on how fucking stupid the audience is.
Is topicality the right word to use? I mean, like, you're gonna get a totally different reading of like, you know, of again, like a modest proposal by Jonathan Swift back in the day. It's be like, wow, there's actually an overpopulation issue. How do we fix it? And then some guy says like, yeah, let's eat all the fucking babies. You're like, Jesus Christ. Like that's obviously going to split people, whether or not it's very clearly a joke or not. But now it's just like, oh, ha, 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 that's funny because we look at it in a different context as to what it is now. So like, this is like, I'm kind of interested to see how people are going to react to this in like 10, 20 years from now. Like, I'm actually very interested.
Well, bold of you to assume we'll all still be here, God. But yeah.
I mean, I guess just
if this movie's anything to go by.
insane optimism. We'll be like, I don't know. We'll probably be in coronavirus lockdown number 18. I don't fucking know.
But yeah. Other than that, like any other points on like I guess like the satire? Because I mean, hearing all of what you said, Triple M,
I think we kind of like
hearing what you've said, Triple M. Like I don't know, I'm fine with it being like on the nose still because like obviously like Galactic Blame product, like that's kind of what a satire's got to do. Like the perception of everyone like loving it so much, that's less. Again, that gets into more of like the artist in the background than the movie itself. That's like a different thing. Like I won't blame the movie for whether or not its audience is like intelligent. On the note of its audience's intelligence, like it's, I don't know. Like because I don't use social media as much, so I can't perceive that. But I will say that like in terms of it getting its message across, I think it works well enough. Because I mean, maybe I'm just dumb, but I didn't immediately think climate change watching this movie. When I first saw the trailer, I just thought, oh, it's like a fun crisis film. And then, like, as I saw people talking about it online, I was like, oh, climate change. Yeah, I totally knew that. But yeah. I still think that it worked well enough for what it was trying to do. It managed to be a part dystopian, part comedy, and part, like, emotional, like, impactful film, like, all in one. I thought it balanced it decently well. But, like, I understand everyone's got their own, like, I guess, opinion on it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fair. I personally did not like it, and that's okay.
All right. But yeah, other than that, let me see my notes. Any last conclusive thoughts? Already talked about editing, already talked about technology. I think it covered, in summary, like what it covered obviously was like responses to climate change, political campaigns, big tech, and whatnot. And I thought it balanced it all surprisingly well while still having some heartwarming human emotion at the center of it all. With the exception of some weird editing and weird character choices, I'll say the movie's just like okay. It ain't like it's not the best or worst thing ever. It's one of those films for me. But you know, I thought it made me laugh a couple of times, and I'll take it. It's okay. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, that's the film.
That's the film.
A bunch of celebrities, a bunch of fun, and I guess how like have we reached some connection based on our opinions our divide? Have we seen eye to eye, or are we all just gonna still have our own split opinions?
I don't have a very strong opinion of this. I have a strong specific direction choice.
I think it's not very good, personally.
I will not defend the damn thing to my grave as a film. I will not hate the thing, like, or whatever. It's just like, it does some stuff good and it does some stuff bad. It's like a mostly meh movie. But, I mean, I guess at least it's making us talk about it. That's more than you can say for a lot of stuff these days. So at least give it that. But that's not really like... like, I'd rather watch a movie where it's like that than something where I just kind of forget everything. Although I did forget a lot that was in this. But, you know, that's... I don't really care.
Fair enough. With that out of the way, anything else? We're all good?
Recommendations?
Yes.
Watch The Sopranos.
Recommendations.
Yeah, recommendations.
Anyone got recommendations?
Go ahead, Triplin. Go talk.
Watch
Sopranos.
Watch The Sopranos! Watch it. Watch The Sopranos. It's really fucking good. It's one of the best TV shows I've ever seen. I think it's currently my favorite show ever. I love it. It's literally a masterpiece.
What a basic bitch choice. I'm kidding. It's great.
Well, all right. Galactic Blame, what's your recommendation?
All right. I'm going to give, like, 3 things real quick. 2 of them I've already...
You can't be unfair. We all got to give the equal amount. Like, if you give 3, then we got to give 3.
It doesn't fucking matter. We can talk about whatever we want. Okay.
Fine.
We have a fucking contract, dude. Okay. So, obviously I mentioned it before. I used it in somewhat of an Adam McKay project, but not really. He's an executive producer and he directed the pilot, but that's pretty much the only thing he has his hands on in the show. Is, of course, Succession. I know it's very popular and everyone will not shut the fuck up about it, but honestly, everyone should not shut the fuck up about it because it is amazing. It's genuinely probably the best acting I've ever seen in both film and television. Everyone is casted perfectly. The God tier writing is something that I've never seen. Like, everything just works perfectly here. Like, it's like every aspect of production just like fell into the right place, and it just gets, the tension just gets more and more and more. Everything just builds off of itself, and it's both a great drama, but somehow you'll also get lines like, I don't know, like like, oh, I heard he has a shit, what is it called? Syphilis, and then someone says, oh, like, yeah, I don't know about syphilis, very much the MySpace of STDs. And I was like, you'll get shit like that, and it's an Emmy award-winning drama series, and people talk like that. But it works. It's so interesting, and you're like, this shouldn't work, but it fucking does. It's like a masterclass in like performing interesting tonal shifts. Another thing that is also an interesting tonal shift is the show called Flowers. It's only 2 seasons. I think it ran from like 2016 to 2018. It's on Netflix if you want to go watch it. It's made by Will Sharp. And I think it's like Olivia Colman's in it. She's great. I mean, she's great in like everything she's in, so that's automatically a selling point. But it's a black comedy drama sitcom, and it's like a really quirky family that is going through like some really fucked up family issues. Like, it's kind of hard to describe. It's genuinely like one of the most chaotic things I've ever watched, and the pilot is fucking insane. So if you want something that's definitely different, then you should check that out. And last but not least, I don't know if Alcatara might mention about this because we both saw it yesterday, is Belle. So is that the anime movie that just came out that better get some fucking Oscar nominations because it was very good. It was very good. It was beautiful. Like it had like a, made me feel something, which I don't really get in movies anymore. The music is great, and I got a 14-minute long standing ovation at Cannes. An anime movie got a 14-minute long standing ovation at Cannes, and I don't know.
Understand how standing ovations like that work. fuck can you stand there?
It's one of the longest ones in the history of it. It's a fucking.
I know. I'm sure it's good, but what I'm saying is, every time I hear something like that, I'm like, how could you stand there for 14 minutes and clap?
It is so insufferable.
You know what it sounds like?
It sounds like
applause. You know what it's like? What like Stalin would like after he gave a speech, like everyone would just stand there and just clap for like 20 minutes because no one wanted to be the last one to stop clapping, or else like they were scared that they were going to get shot or something. Like I feel like it's like that. It's like the same energy. But yeah, anyway, so that's a great thing to watch. It's in theaters right now. I don't know, it's probably like a limited release, so it'll probably only be in theaters for like another week. But I saw the English dub. Alcatraz saw the original Japanese. I heard the Japanese is very similar to the dub. The dub was actually quite good. You know, for all you sub elitists out there, it's actually one of the good ones. Yeah, anyway, those are my recommendations.
All right. For me, I have a recommendation. It is from James Gunn, The Bizarre Mind of Him. It is a little mini-series called PG Porn.
Do you really want to taste that? Yeah! All the other kids with the pumped up... I'm sorry, I really fucking like it.
Good lord. But anyways, it is a little short mini-series called PG Porn, which is a parody of porn. Basically, like, it's just a parody of, like, all the stereotype tropes you see in, like, porn films, and it's handled in a very, like, comedic way. And since it's PG, like, it's a sort of, like, safe-for-work parody trip of them. And it has an actual porn star as the main character, but that's interesting. Point is, James Gunn is just a bizarro guy, and I think that the comedy was actually pretty surreal and fun for what it was. So, yeah.
It's James Gunn minus the training wheels that the big studios.
But yeah, so I thought that was just a fun little mini-series of him just doing raunchy comedy. And that is my recommendation.
All right.
Yeah, that was that. All right, thank you for listening, everyone. Let's not tear each other's heads off in the future. We'll do more basic.
God forbid that Don't Look Up is the reason why I tear somebody's head off. It's really not.
Honestly, like we'll do more analytical and professional work as time goes on. But yeah, thanks for listening, and y'all have a good day, and make sure hashtag just look up. I don't know what side
hashtag
are you.
Kill me.
All right, what side are y'all? Hashtag just look up or don't look up.
I think Triple M left the chat too.
Damn.
So.
Oh well.
He said he had stuff to do. So
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah. So hope everyone has a happy new year. Hopefully this year will be not a 2020 part 3 again. But
I saw a meme about that too from the Don't Look Up
it
cast.
probably will, but we can hold out hope. So yeah, but hopefully everyone had a happy holidays and a happy new year. Hopefully we get to see like more good films or at least films we can talk about in television, and I look forward to the future. So goodbye, everybody.
Yeah.